Hello everybody, my name is Benji. Welcome back to Satisfactory for potentially the last time in a while, honestly. As you can see, we have the golden nut. The anniversary is still active, and that's a bit loud. And we've beaten the game. Now, I don't want to go too deep into the actual beating of the game things in this video, because I recorded the actual ending of Satisfactory in a separate video, which I will be posting at some point here in the near future. Everybody who is in stream got to be a lovely part of that, but the game is beaten. We have the golden nut statue, which means we have every single achievement in the entirety of the game. I should have gotten this up ahead of time. But we have all of the achievements. Every single one of the achievements we have gotten, including some of the relatively weird ones, like surviving a fall with one hit, or petting the moth, or taming a lizard doggo, or drinking coffee, reaching the maximum world height. All of those wonderful, wonderful, wonderful things we have completely and entirely finished. And then we spent quite a while grinding for the golden nut, because this thing costs 1,000 tickets. But that's not really the purpose of today. The purpose of today is to show the finished Phase 5 factory, because that's what we finished in parts 29 and 30 of the playthrough. Is actually finishing Thrust 4 with all of the intermediate parts, and then also finishing Thrust 5 with all of the actual space elevator parts. Give me power, give me power, give me power. Give me power, thank you. So, in terms of where the heck we left off in the last recap, I don't actually know. I'm pretty sure we capped off with the high-speed connectors, and maybe a couple of other things. But now we've got a giant bus running along the side here, which takes all of the parts that are required for the space elevator parts over to the Thrust 5 facility, which is where all the space elevator parts get made. I know for a fact that was not in the last one, so we're gonna not do that just yet. But in terms of things that I don't think we did, I think we did fuse modular frames, but if not, that's these. Modular frames, encased industrial beams, heavy modular frames, which I very much overbuilt the first time around, because I had the numbers backwards. And then fused modular frames. Then we have our alclad casings, which go into our heat sinks. Heat sinks go into radio control units with the alternate recipe for the high-speed connectors and quartz crystal raw recipe. And then motors and heat sinks and nitrogen gas for cooling systems. Plenty of cooling systems. Cooling systems and the radio control units, RCUs, go together to make OC supercomputers. Supercomputers. And supercomputers go off to the Thrust 5 facility, but also go to neural quantum processors, which we'll get to later. Then the rest of the cooling systems and more of the RCUs go to turbo motors, with motors and rubber. And the turbo motors are only used in one thing: the ballistic warp drive. So, or the thermal propulsion rocket, I think, technically, which go into the ballistic warp drive, so beside the point. And then we have our massive quartz crystal oscillator facility, sub-facility here. All of the cable goes here, the rest of the reinforced iron plates go here, the rest of the quartz crystals go here, all the good stuff for all of those wonderful, wonderful things. Those combine with circuit boards to make computers, and the computers actually purely go over to the Thrust 5 facility, which I think is kind of neat. Fuse modular frames and radio control units make pressure conversion cubes, which then go to the nuclear pasta. Nuclear pasta, iron plates, concrete, which is clipping. I didn't actually know that it was clipping, so we're gonna fix that real quick. like that. And dark matter crystals go to make singularity cells, which go to the thermal propulsion rockets. Then we've got just some excited photonic matter, and we finally use our time crystals for the dark matter crystals and the dark matter residue byproduct. So I'll kind of go through this little area and explain exactly what's happening here. We've got dark matter crystals, alclad sheets, supercomputers. Actually, that's supercomputers. What's this? Ah, crystal oscillators. That makes sense. Crystal oscillators, time crystals, fixite trigons, and then more time crystals, dark matter residue, create dark matter crystals. And there's a buffer and an awesome sink. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about what's happening here. We've got neural quantum processors, which require excited photonic matter, and then all of these things. And then the neural quantum processors give us a byproduct of dark matter residue. That dark matter residue is the same amount of excited photonic matter. Oh, they just crashed into each other and they're arguing about it. That's the secret animation, which is always kind of funny to have happen. It's very rare. And then superposition oscillators, crystal oscillators, alclad sheets, dark matter crystals, excited photonic matter, with a dark matter residue byproduct. The other thing that has a dark matter residue byproduct is right there, the AI expansion servers, which also requires excited photonic matter, which is right there. And all of that dark matter residue comes back into these particle accelerators to make dark matter crystals. The dark matter crystals go here, here, there, and then also to the ballistic warp drives over in the Thrust 5 facility. So we're using the time crystals to actually allow us to have more production of dark matter crystals than dark matter residue is required. So we're making more dark matter crystals than we need, which is why we have a priority for the sink. We have a priority to go to processing, and then a backup flow to go to the sink, just because of the fact that this will back up, as will these back up, which causes this to get used, so that all of the dark matter residue doesn't become a clog in the outputs of the systems themselves. And that is the entirety of the Thrust 4 facility. There's the dark matter residue pipe. There are a total of 24 different things, or maybe it's 36. No, it's 6 times 4 is 24. There are 24 things that go between the factories. A majority of them are belts. 25 of them are belts, or 23 of them are belts. And then the last one is the dark matter residue, which has to go the entirety of the way back. So now over here in the Thrust 5 facility, which is where all of our space elevator parts get made, this was actually very easy to build. This took barely even a stream. I think we spent the last hour of stream just killing things and getting coupons and trying to get the golden nut. And then obviously, you know, beating the game happened in the next stream. So that's kind of neat. So here is the... nope, we started over here. Here is the smart plating. You'll see reinforced iron plates, rotors, very familiar. But then plastic. That's because it's an alternate recipe. Then same thing over here, versatile framework. You know, modular frames, steel beams. Makes sense. Rubber. Because it's an alternate recipe. We're making 10 per minute of each of those. And then those go into up here. The modular engine only has its default recipe. So motor, rubber, smart plating does its whole thing. I think this is made at a rate of 5 per minute. Yeah, because it's a 2-to-1. Nope. Yeah, because it's a 2-to-1. Automated control units, or automated wiring, is over here. Stators, wire, high-speed connectors. That's an alternate recipe. Usually it's just stators and the wire, but an absorbent amount of them. We're making 35 of these per minute. So that's pretty substantial. Quite substantial. Then over here, we have the adaptive control units, which I don't actually know how many of these are made per minute. But obviously our heavy modular frames aren't keeping up. Not like it matters anymore. Or maybe there is, in fact, a problem. There could very well be a problem. And I just don't know the problem. But that is okay, because the game is beaten, and I'm not messing with this factory any more than I already have. Then over here we have the magnetic field generators. Only one recipe for that. Electromagnetic control rods are the best. We're just kind of working our way up the tech tree here. We've got thermal propulsion rockets next, modular engine, turbo motor, cooling system, fused modular frame. Everything is great in that department. Then over here, the adaptive control units combined with supercomputers to make assembly director systems. And it makes sense that the ACUs aren't working correctly. Did I do bad math or something? I very well could have done bad math. I got rid of all of my notes, so I'm not going to deal with it. Like I said, I'm not going to deal with it. Then we have our first of the actual Phase 5 requirements, the ballistic warp drive. Thermal propulsion rockets, singularity cell, superposition oscillator, dark matter crystals. So there's the dark matter crystals. And we did, in fact, put Somers loops in these, just to make them all that much faster. And then over here, the second AI expansion servers, magnetic field generator, neural quantum processor, superposition oscillator, excited photonic matter, dark matter residue byproduct, which has to go all the way back over there. The pipe could have just gone straight across. I didn't feel like it. There's the excited photonic matter. And then last, but most certainly not least, the biomechanical sculptor, which we are making a whopping 15 per minute of, which is absolutely and entirely nuts. And also requires water. But I didn't feel like taking water away from the giant pipe and trying to ratio it and doing all the things. That would have sucked. So I just got a little bit of sippy drink out of the waterfall there, or out of a little lake there. And that's the entire facility. These drones took everything back over to the facility, back home, over to the space elevator, where we finished project assembly. And yeah, that's the whole thing. Now, all of these materials go into the sink very, very slowly, because I think it's cool to watch when it does it like that. And we're not making all that much per minute. And you can see how many points we need for each coupon, as well as being able to see how much each little object here is worth. The AI expansion servers are very expensive. Biomechanical sculptors are less expensive, but the ballistic warp drives are worth like a few million each, give or take. Not to mention the fact, oh, here comes some now, so we can kind of watch this tick up here in a minute, because it's going to jump. Yeah, it jumped pretty substantially there. We're making 18 million points per minute, assuming everything is running perfectly smooth, perfectly up to speed, which obviously it's not. But that is a-okay. This project was a monstrous logistical challenge. The rigor that I had to take for this project, both in terms of the rigor of planning, but also the rigor of building, throughput, like limiting, overestimating my numbers, making assumptions, all of these things was an absolutely immense challenge, but a very welcome challenge. I'm actually going to decouple the camera here. Didn't know that was that button. Okay. So yeah, we're going to decouple the camera here just so I can get a little bit higher and get a little bit more of a bird's eye view here. But literally everything had to have throughput taken into account. From that water well and where it was going to go, to that water well being out in the main line, the main rail line, rather than limited here in the system, to the SAM trains having to dip that entrance into the biome underneath of the other straight rail to keep it from crossing the exit line and keep the train throughput balanced. That was a problem I wasn't expecting. Figuring out how the heck... Why did I do one... I swear, guys, sometimes I'm a little stupid, and I don't even realize it. I did the same thing over there, which caused issues, actually. You can see that I have since fixed it, but it did in fact cause issues. That's a 1-2 train, that's quartz. It's a 1-4 train station. And you can see where I made the shift. So I built the coal first. That was the first train line that went in here. Then I started wrapping around this direction. Took care of the water, Actually, I think that was one of the last things I did. Oh my gosh, that's a 1-4-2! Oh my gosh, what was I doing? Okay, so it was just immediately I forgot that I was doing 1-2 trains. Because every single one of these trains is a 1-2 station. These are 1-4s because the water needs the extra throughput, the SAM needs the extra throughput, the plastic and rubber and time crystals and aluminum need the extra throughput, and the gas needs the extra throughput. Also, the gas was built to be a 1-4. All the way over there was built to be a 1-4. And then I just completely forgot that I did 1-2 trains. So no wonder that one was built as a 1-4 station with only half of the throughput being met. Because I built them all as 1-4 stations, except these are only one belt coming in each, instead of multiple belts coming in. So it never actually caused any issues. Wow. The things that you realize... Actually, that one might be causing issues. I might be throughput limiting myself, and that might be the problem that's happening here. Anyway, case and point there being logistical nightmare, logistical challenges, figuring out the train sizing, if the trains could handle the throughput, the buffering, the strategic loading and unloading and building process. Heck, even all of like the modularity that was done here with the systems of the refineries and then the systems of the assemblers, the blueprints for the smelting blocks, doing the new smelting block blueprint was important. Making that monstrosity was important. The SAM being on the bottom, and then the, fixite ingots, and then the fixite trigons being a whole thing in and of itself. The copper powder for the nuclear pasta, and then having the entire bus system here, where things have to come up the bus, off the bus, over the bus, under the bus shrinks, the bus grows, the sub-bus begins, and then expands and expands and expands, and the belts and the spaghetti and the modularity of the systems. It's gorgeous, but it was also a massive, massive logistical challenge. The planning, the hours of time, the dozens of hours, if not hundreds of hours of time that went into this project is immense. And I couldn't be more proud of it, other than the stupid 1-4 trains. I'm never going to be able to unsee that now. And I'm going to have to go check my throughputs and make sure that I'm not throughput limiting myself with the belts. But yeah, that's it. That's the last thing. Oh, not to mention the other sub-facilities. Like, we've got the aluminum ingot facility and the oil facility, which I won't take you to right now. But you can, at the very least, see the one. There it is. You can see the aluminum facility from here. And you can see the radar of the oil facility. I think that's the radar of the oil facility, at least. I can't have my HUD. I think that's the radar of the oil facility. Actually, no, I don't think it is. No, that's the wrong radar. That's the radar of the Tier 9 facility. Anyway, case in point, fun project to work on. Very fun project to work on. Very challenging project to work on. It's bittersweet that it's over. And it's bittersweet that Satisfactory is coming to a close. There is one other thing that I do want to come back to in this game. And that is Fixonium and the Fixonium fuel rod. Because that is an immense challenge in and of itself. Excited photonic matter, the rest of that stuff's easy. But Singularity sells plutonium waste. And then plutonium waste is of course, difficult. It's not showing me the fuel rod. There it is. Plutonium fuel rod. Like, these are all really, really complicated processes. And then it takes you all the way down to nuclear waste. And with the nuclear waste, you've got the uranium fuel rod, and that requires a whole bunch of... It's a whole process, and it would be another monstrous logistical challenge, and it would be a great time, and I'd have a wonderful time, but I need a minute. I'm a little burnt out here. After all of this, I'm a little burnt out. So, for now, that is unfortunately going to be it. I will come back eventually. It may not be on YouTube. It may just be videos. It might not be streams, but we'll be back at some point, and we'll finish out this world strong with Fixonium, and then call this 1.0 save concluded. So with that, thank you everybody so much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed. But without further ado, adios, sayonara, au revoir, hasta la vista, das vidania, evidizien, ciao, and goodbye. Please have yourselves a fantastic rest of your day. Get some sleep if you need to. Don't forget to stay hydrated. This video's in the bag. Satisfactory is too for now. I'll see you all in the next one. Here we come, Silk Song. Later, y'all.